and I think we should be live now.
We are
So,
live now?
yeah.
Man, ain't
Uh,
that some shit.
so here we're gonna review "Offbeat" by Anton today. There's
Offbeat, yes.
this
Well,
track has two versions, and we'll watch both of them, but we'll watch
we're gonna
uh,
watch the first one, which
the
is
original
you'll
first.
see. Let's just watch it.
All
All
right,
right,
you ready?
ready? Yep.
Three, two, one, go.
Bold choice on the wingdings. This
Does
image
anyone
is,
know what that says?
no. I think that's also webdings, not wingdings. But you immediately notice something wrong with the track. And I say wrong only because we're very familiar with what Line Rider looks like normally.
Yeah. To anyone who's watched like a lot of Line Rider videos, like right at the beginning, you're like, "What is happening? There's something very weird here."
Yes.
And then pretty quickly you figure out he's facing the wrong way.
yes. And it's a very simple editing trick. You just say, hey, I'm gonna mirror this.
Yeah.
But after that, everything just feels weird.
I do want to mention that this is probably, like, Anton probably didn't know this when he made this track, but this is definitely not the first time anyone's reversed it.
Yeah.
I can't remember who, just because there haven't really been any notable examples, because all the reverse videos, like, no one really cared that much, so just like, this is weird, some people said, and then that was it. And no one ever made like a big fat track that was like a lot of work was put into it and then reversed it. So this is the first one that is like
a concerted effort.
Yeah, like you know. Although it's also definitely relatively cautious because there is the alternate version where it's facing the other way, facing the standard direction.
Yeah. Also, for me, because I don't speak French, the French rap also makes me feel just like this track is utterly alien to me.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've seen tracks with rap in, like, English and stuff, but the fact that everything's reversed and everything's in French makes me just feel like I'm completely lost here.
And then the other thing, which I didn't actually even pick up on until someone mentioned it in a comment, is that Bosch is in a squished position the entire track. Sort of like static, but I don't know what to say, the inverse of static, because he's rotating like crazy, but he's in the same position all the time. So it's like, I don't know, a different take on that restriction.
Absolutely. And now do we want to watch On Beat for the hot contrast that's going on there?
Yeah, let's watch On Beat.
All right.
Are you ready?
I am ready. I have both of the videos loaded up. I have Offbeat and On Beat.
I do too. 3, 2, 1, go.
So what I want to do is I want to do an edit of this where you see half of it and then the other half flipped, and they're on like half and half screens, and call it superposition, where it's both on and off beat.
Okay, you do that.
I'll get back to you in like a week. Anyway,
I can't tell how much of this music syncing was highly intentional and how much of it was loosely intentional and how much of it was coincidence. I'm guessing that a lot of it was more intentional than we're used to in tracks, just because it was made in LRA, and so he probably was working with the song from the beginning, though I don't really know that for sure.
Mm-hmm. One of the perhaps unintended, possibly intentional, I'll have to ask Anton about this, consequences of having a constantly squished position track is that there's no room for airtime ever. He has to maintain that squished position. You have to be actively squishing his hand down there every single frame.
Yeah.
If you even let it go for like 2 or 3 frames, it'll pop in the opposite direction, especially if it's a tight squish.
I'm sure that was something he was aware of going into the project.
Mm-hmm.
It is a, like, I like thinking about that. I wonder if there could have been a better music choice.
Yeah.
To like a music choice that would reflect not just it's French rap, I am confused, but also I am constantly being affected because I'm squished into this everything. I'm squished. I'm squished the whole time.
If it wasn't used for Ghost sessions already, I definitely would have recommended Window Licker by Aphex Twin because it has this feeling of like oppressiveness when you hear this constant like building low rumbling bass that would definitely go along with this kind of thing, and I think it would contribute to that kind of like weird, almost sort of oppressive tension that's going on there.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you want to watch Offbeat or Onbeat in slow motion?
I don't know. Which one do you say?
Probably Onbeat, so we can just look at the tricks real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of like, watch Offbeat and you're like, okay, I get it. But like, in order to actually analyze the track, we'll have to watch Onbeat, or else we'll just be talking about the reverse the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest weakness for the track for me, is that it's like, it's reversed, and that's like all you can pay attention to with Offbeat, which is, I'm guessing, why he made Onbeat, because it's like, you just can't even watch it. But at least anyone who understands Quirk and what's going on can't watch it reversed. Anyone who doesn't understand how Quirk works, then they're just confused on both equally. But
okay, here's my biggest gripe with the track.
Let's watch it in slow motion. Let's start it up first. We can just go from the beginning, and we'll start it. Oops. Oh, it's on beat, so there's no intro. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's your biggest gripe with the track?
My biggest gripe with this track is that it feels like the flipped aspect was an afterthought given after he made the track. It doesn't feel like the track was made explicitly
very true.
to play around with the idea of what would happen if you reversed it. It's just, this is reversed. This is a track that does a thing, and now I'm just going to reverse it and see what that looks like. Oh, that looks weird, doesn't it? It doesn't feel intentional.
Another thing to add on to that is that when he was talking about why he reversed it, basically he was like, yeah, I've had this idea to reverse a track for a long time, and I figured why not do it with this one? And my answer to that is do it with something where it serves a greater purpose other than let's just pick a random track that I release and reverse it. Because you could argue that it's like supposed to feel weird, and this track is supposed to feel weird because he's squished. And because it's synced to some French rap, but I don't buy it that's enough of a solid reason. Not. It's like, yeah.
And
making a track that's supposed to make us feel weird is not really a novel concept. I mean, it dates all the way back to like Anomaly with Awkward.
Yeah.
Which ironically now you watch it and it's not awkward at all, but at the time it was like very misdirectional, which now like not all quirks, but like most like dense space recycling quirks are misdirectional much more than that track ever was, but at the time. Anyway.
But yeah.
It's like it's not a terribly unique concept, and most of what's done in this track doesn't necessarily support that concept, or really just doesn't support that concept. I mean, not necessarily unnecessarily, just doesn't support the concept.
Part of me feels like this track would also be more consistent and interesting if it was released as Onbeat, but with a different title and highlighting the squished part, because it feels like an afterthought now that he's made it the reversed thing part of the track.
The reversed like took such like a center stage aspect in any discussion of the track that like the squished part of it has been completely overlooked. By the way, I've seen a few instances where he comes slightly unsquished so far.
Yeah, but most of them are where his body is squished and his hand is either behind his head or in front of his head.
I wonder if that's just difficulty of keeping him squished, or difficulty in what he was doing while trying to keep him squished.
Probably.
Or if it's just he just didn't feel like it was super important to keep him completely squished all the time. I don't know.
I mean, if the effect only lasts for a couple frames, I don't can't imagine it being terribly important.
Yeah, when you're watching at a high speed, it's probably not super important when. Versus what was the other one? What's the one we watched before? Static. Static, where if any change in rotation would be instantly visible.
Yeah.
In this track, this being squished is like you can't really tell if he comes unsquished for like one frame, which has happened a few times. Which we only have noticed that because we're watching it at quarter speed.
So yeah, this track definitely like feels like, oh, here I'm going to show off all the things you can do while still being in a squished position, and then the editing makes you immediately ignore all of that for the sudden switch.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if he just thought that like this was sort of a not that exciting of an idea for this. The squished was not that exciting of an idea, and so he's decided to release the track spice it up by making the reverse. I don't know. I
would have liked it better on its own, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
I think the squished is definitely enough of an interesting concept, and it's explored well enough. And
though on the other hand, we probably would have had the exact same feedback we had for Static if it was just Offbeat with a different name.
Right, but that's okay though. Not every track has to fully explore something. The criticism of see what else you can do with this is more of a creative exhortation than a condemnation of the track itself.
True.
It's
a
way of saying this is a good start.
Yeah. Well, this is also a good start.
This is also Offbeat is a great start, and Offbeat is I don't think the direction this track deserved to be taken.
Yeah.
All that aside, there's some really crazy technical stuff going on here.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say I have no idea what's happening most of the time.
Butt rolls, my friend, butt rolls.
Butt rolls.
I don't know. So this crazy ass stacks and
I mean, if I had any way of learning how to do any of these things, or someone, I mean, other than just like grinding away and trying stuff, like I'm sure that's how Anton learned, but I did not have the patience to do what Anton did, and so I'm just not going to be able to understand most of what he's doing in these tracks until there's some way for me to learn this kind of thing. He might be doing something that's really simple, and he might be doing something that's really complicated, and I just don't know. I never know because it's all completely foreign to me.
I like some of his experiments with like integration, though, especially in maintaining that squishiness. If there was like a tapeworm style track with that kind of thing, I would be interested to see what that's like.
They're pretty brief, and they feel very just let's try something, and then just go off and do something else. So it doesn't feel like it's really the idea ever got out of being here's a brief idea I had, but they are cool. I would like to see that expanded on. That'd be fun.
Yes. So in terms of
I imagine
ideas you can take away from this for a full track, because this is tossing out classic Anton here is tossing out a lot of like different ideas of what you can do with the squished position and not really expanding on any of them consistently.
Yeah. Classic Anton.
I mean, that's what happened in Static. That's what happened in Booty Swing. That's what's happened in every Anton track I've seen so far.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. If anything, it means he gets to explore and present more ideas. But
maybe that's just how Anton wants to make tracks, is just throw out a bunch of ideas and if anything catches on, and he's just going to keep throwing out random things until people are like, I love this like one moment, and then maybe he'll develop that. I don't know. Or maybe he just won't. Maybe he'll just keep throwing out ideas, and eventually we'll be like, I like this moment, and then the track will be well known, or people will like it because of that moment. I don't know. But it's definitely, or maybe he's just having fun. He doesn't really care what people like or dislike about the track. I don't know. Hard to say.
But
go ahead.
The other thing that this makes me think is there's also the possibility that someone else is going to take one of these ideas and make a full, consistent thing with it. And if Anton keeps doing what he's doing, if he's okay with the possibility of the person expanding and making a consistent idea not being him, then everything he's doing here is a boon to everyone else who is a fan of doing that kind
I
of
mean,
thing.
kind of, except that, I mean, I kind of agree with you there. Like, okay, so I agree with you that this is a great source of ideas for anyone else who wants to try these things out. But
Yes.
it's very difficult to try these things out because like 99% of people who are making tracks, which is already a very small number,
Yes.
have any idea how he's doing anything. And
And this is
so,
where we get back to the thing we were talking about in Inhibition Z, where it would be awesome to see videos of how.
yeah,
That the how is one of the most interesting parts that we'd never get to see.
yes, yes,
Um,
exactly.
so I feel like that's a point that deserves reiteration as we go into the conclusion of this review, which is there needs to be some kind of
There needs to be a way for just not
there
just
needs to be
people.
more of a
Okay,
sharing of ideas.
okay. So both for people who are just want to watch tracks and be like, "What the hell is going on?" and they can like watch a like making of video that's like, "Oh, now I kind of understand what's going on and why you did this and how it was
Right.
made." And then also for people who like want to make stuff like this and I mean, if anyone wants to make stuff like this, their only real option right now is to like message someone who makes something like this and then hope that they get to be friends with that person and can just like hang out with them all the time and chat with them over
Right.
Skype, which is just not a good way to learn about something. um
Absolutely.
um it'd be anyway. Yeah, I mean you
We
can't expect that like
mhm.
or it's hard to be like, in order to learn this thing, I have to become friends with this person and become deeply involved in their life. It's like I would like to learn things without having to be like, I don't know, your best friend. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, like
And I'm sure a lot of people in the community feel the same way.
I mean, yeah, I like a lot of what I see for like art time lapses on YouTube where it's like drawing the pen and stuff, but I don't want to have to go through the whole process of messaging that person, befriending them over the course of a couple
And
years,
then
and then
watching them slowly draw the project, and then you're like, oh, now I know how they made it. It's like, it's so much easier to be like, oh, I can watch this YouTube video where they explain how they made it.
right. Uh, so there needs to be more public information, and there needs to be
I mean, I'm sure you know that I'm starting to sort of dip my toe into that kind of making of videos,
right.
and so is Chuggers a little bit. Though I would really love to know more about Chuggers' process. Rather, I think I mentioned this in a different
Yeah,
review, but like more
you did.
more about like how this is done, and like being able to watch how it was done and have someone explain. Anyway,
Yeah.
we're
So we
just
covered a
back to the
lot of things
same
there.
spot that we were when we were talking about Inhibition Z, aren't we?
Yes, but it's a good and necessary point to make.
Yes,
Uh,
it's true.
and I think it's something that applies to both Off and On Beat and Inhibition Z, and I think it's a relevant discussion. So, with all that being said,
Hopefully,
to
next
sum it up,
time we review a track like this, we will have more to talk about than just
yes,
we want to know how.
yes,
That would be great.
awesome. All right, Offbeat and
And
On-Beat,
yeah,
thumbs up. Do more and expand on things, I guess. um,
that's our slogan. Quick reviews
yes.
with Rabid and OTD. Do more and expand on things.
You gotta add the I guess at the end so that there's that
Do
sense
more
of
and
like,
expand on things, I guess.
yes. Um, that's
Yes.
great.
So
All right.
yeah, to everyone who watched, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Have fun, lads.